All right. Um, we are going to have this little microphone to pass around when you have comments because we noticed that we couldn't hear the comments last time when we were recording. So please raise your hand when you want to make a comment and we will pass the microphone to you. So the big question that Linda's always asking me, it's a good idea, but can we do it? The grand juries. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Just click the pad. Okay, so why do we want grand juries? What's the purpose of a grand jury? Why do we want one?
Accountability.
Persecute our enemies.
We want accountability.
Okay, accountability. And what is part of accountability? What occurs?
We want to find the oath of office of the particular in-office person we're interested in.
But is that a grand jury thing?
Well, if we get their oath of office and they're not doing it, then we can go get their bond.
Okay, so we want accountability. What is part of accountability?
Sweet, sweet revenge. Sweet, sweet revenge.
If someone breaks the law, there has to be consequence.
The magic word. Click. Prosecutions. Isn't that what we're all waiting for? Isn't that what everybody is upset about right now? That there's no prosecutions going on
All
of
show and no dough.
Oh, there are.
all show and no dough, Linda said. Yeah, so prosecutions, click. So issues where we aren't seeing justice done. Who wants to have the magic mic? Okay, Michael did it. Epstein. So tomorrow at 10:30 Eastern Time, Thomas Massey and a Democrat from California are going to have a press conference with 10 victims of the Epstein debacle. And today he got his form done that I think 178 congressmen have to sign so that we can demand that the Epstein files be released. Please call or email your congressman tonight or tomorrow. Burgess Owens, okay? And let him know that we want that for him to sign it. I told him to his face when he was here a couple of weeks ago how upset people of Sanpete County are, and please tell President Trump that brushing us off about this Epstein issue isn't going to work. We are going to be on him until this happens, and so this is one of the big ones.
Senator or representative?
Representative Burgess Owens. Okay, what else? The January 6ers, have we seen any retribution, for everything that they went through? Don't we think some jailers, some district attorneys, some people ought to be held accountable for what they did to the January 6ers in jail and how they harassed them and did all sorts of things? COVID fraud. How many of you would like to see Fauci go to jail? I sure would.
More than jail.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see him swing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big one. Next. The 2020 election fraud. How many of you would like to see? We've heard about Obama being in charge of some conspiracy, and Hillary, and Comey, and. So we've heard
Rule in Germany.
that there's a lot.
The voting machines in Germany.
Yeah, so the 2020 election fraud is a big deal. Have you heard about the 21 trillion missing money from the Department of Defense? That's been going on for,
Is that all that's missing?
no, that's all that's missing as of 2015.
That's all they say is missing.
Yeah, that's all that. Catherine Austin Fitts and Dr. Mark Skidmore found as of 2015, and that was from the Department of Defense. So if we got back 21 trillion of that missing money, our debt would go down quite a bit, wouldn't it? So that's an important one. The conspiracy against Trump, led by Obama again. The Joe Biden auto pen. Wouldn't you like to see something happen about that? That's kind of a big deal.
Back up all those things that were auto.
Yeah, and the last one, how about the Spencer Cox election?
He got reelected when he wasn't, he didn't get enough signatures.
Right, so we know that there's some nefarious things going on because of that.
Somebody get a rope.
Yeah, rope-a-dope.
There was a gentleman, first name is Wayne, Kickster or something like that. No, Wickster, and 88 years old. I talked to him a couple of hours last week, and he is suing Spencer Cox for
88 million.
millions.
Oh,
Yeah, almost $1 billion in fraud through Cox and his cohorts throughout government. And this is former FBI investigator, military intelligence, I mean, quite a deal. And he spent 4 years putting this case together, and it entails 500 pages in his complaint against them, and he's doing this himself.
That's right.
And
He took the COVID money and invested it in his company.
yeah, I mean, that was just a small part of it.
Maybe
for
we
sure.
have this Wayne guy talk to us.
yeah, I was thinking, he's 88 years old. I don't know how we get him here.
And,
Do you want to pass, when you're done, pass the microphone to Crystal? Over here, Crystal Larson.
If I understand right, Cox, of course, is Centricom company, right?
Right,
And I understand he bought Manti Telephone.
he did.
How can we get out of that? I hear the prices of Starlink satellite are coming down. Maybe we could get that.
Yeah, it's pretty tempting, isn't it? Okay, so, next.
That's no good when it snows.
No, they say they have a heater on it.
So, if you were 100% sure that something could be done about one issue, 100% sure, what is the issue you would choose?
Election.
Okay, Helen has one. Would you pass it, John? To
Read the other day, but I don't believe everything I read. Oh, thank you.
what's the?
I did read the other day, and I don't believe everything I read, but it seemed to me that the January 6ers who really were horribly treated, because I met some of the people who were family of the January 6ers, and it was just a terrible time in prison.
So that's the one you would choose. You would want to get justice for the January 6 people.
Well, yes, I think they need to be heard, and it's a terrible story. But then the other day, now I don't know how true this is, friends, but they were getting ready to sue Nancy Pelosi, the
Oh.
January 6ers.
That would
I
make
hope it's
sense.
true.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Anybody else? Crystal has an idea behind you, John?
I would probably go for the COVID fraud because that affected
Millions,
the
millions.
whole world.
Yeah, the COVID fraud is a big deal. Yeah. Up here, do you want to get your exercise tonight, John? You're doing a great job.
Well, I think the root of the problem has to do with election fraud.
Okay.
Wrong guys are in office and they do funny things, and the COVID and the January 6ers are some of the fallout of the wrong people in office.
Okay, good. So there's a lot of things, if we were 100% sure, that we would want to go after.
I would want to see Spencer Cox out because that just hits so close to home.
Yeah, very close to home.
Something that's kind of at the beginning of quite a bit of that is the fact that Obama was not a qualified president.
Yeah,
deal with that, and then that takes care of
A lot, doesn't
all the
it?
other corruption that he's been involved in.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Anybody else? All right, let's go on. So, what's our responsibility as people that live in the United States of America? Click. Oh,
Work to have valid news and information so that we can vote appropriately and our neighbors can also.
okay. So, this is some of the things that I thought of. You need to, first of all, know what your rights are. If you don't know what the Utah State Bill of Rights tells you that you have the right to do, if you don't know what the Federal Bill of Rights tells you that you have the right to do, you don't know how to protect yourself, because you don't even know they're trampling your rights if you don't know what your rights are. So I said, number one, you've got to learn your rights. Now, we should have learned this in school. Agree? Yeah, we should have learned this in school. We need to learn the fundamental principles. We need to learn what our founding fathers knew and how they wrote documents like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitutions. How did they have all this knowledge?
Because they lived in Europe, and they had it taken from them, and when they came here, they said, we won't do this or this or this.
Yeah, part of it was that they lived in Europe and they saw the problems and they wanted to correct them here. I think part of it, they studied John Locke.
Yeah.
They studied, who else? Pardon?
Montesquieu?
Montesquieu was a big one. I think that was probably number one, was Montesquieu.
The English Bill of Rights.
The English Bill of Rights, the Magna Carta, all of the rights that they came to American colonies with, they understood a lot about the common law.
Because of what was implemented upon them, like King's law, King's rules, King's law.
Okay, so they
Off with their head.
they knew, they insisted that King John implement the Magna Carta under threat of death.
They studied the failure of a lot of historical societies like Greece and Rome.
Right, they studied Greece and Rome so that they knew what worked and what didn't work, and so they had a big background knowledge. Microphone's coming.
Some of them read the scriptures.
I wondered if any of you would come up with that.
I was gonna say that.
Good.
Well,
So, if I have heard that Psalms 119 has more information about the law than anywhere else. And what else is special about Psalms 119?
in history, the Saxon law followed closely the Mosaic law and those principles, and our founding fathers in this country studied what they had done.
That's true. So, Psalms 119 is the longest book in the Bible. And it's also one that will teach us the most if we study every single word in every single verse. Will teach us more about the law than we might learn anywhere else. So that's kind of interesting.
Okay. In Europe, they had rules that parents could even abuse their daughters. That was part of their church, that was part of Satanism. So it was long ago, and they've infiltrated themselves way back then, and trafficking, etc.
So this isn't new.
This is not new, that's shocking. And this is thousands of years old if you're going to follow
Yeah, the worship of Moloch is an old religion, Babylonian religion.
Out of that ruling system, King's law, and I'll do whatever I want to you, and the fathers were doing that to their daughters, and mothers were even holding down the daughters and abusing them.
So we wanted to have more freedom. We wanted to live true Christianity.
Yeah.
So everything in our legal documents were based on the Bible. The other thing that I think is one of our responsibilities is to stop complaining and start doing something, because we have been trained to complain. Okay, this is a psyop. get you to complain to one another, get podcasts where we all sit around for 4 hours complaining to each other, but we never talk about remedy. We never talk about what we can do, and we're going to go more into that. So that's one of our responsibilities. Read your state Bill of Rights. I'm going to ask you again. Who has read the Utah State Bill of Rights?
Not that hand.
Okay, I'm seeing more hands. Every week we're seeing more. It'll take you about 45 minutes.
Where do we go to find that?
Just type up Utah State Bill of Rights and it'll pop up. You can go to ballotpedia.org, type in Utah Constitution, and it will pop it up. Then you need to understand the limitations of government. The constitutions are an express document. What does express document mean? It's written. It's a written document. So it tells them what they can do in government and what they can't do. And if it's not written in the Constitution that they can do something, they can't do it. What do they say? Oh, well, if it doesn't say we can't, we can. They've got it exactly backwards. They can only do what is enumerated or written in the constitutions, both federal and state. So we need to understand the limitations of government. Did that make you uncomfortable? Did it make you a little mad talking about your responsibilities? Mike? John, you want to give the mic to Mike? Hi, Mike.
Michael?
I think we can sum all of those up by saying we need to be citizens. And I'm not worried about the people in this room because we're all here learning and being educated. I'm worried about the other 3,900 citizens of Manti that don't come to city council, that don't come to meetings like this, that are living their lives thinking everything's just going to keep going the way it is and we don't have to do it.
Can I teach you something about the word citizen?
Yes.
Citizen is a jurisdiction. And you can choose to be a citizen at one point, or you can choose to be one of the people at a different point, or at the same time. You are not always under the jurisdiction of being a citizen. Sometimes you're under the jurisdiction of being one of the people. Just keep that in mind, and thank you for bringing that up because it's important to understand that. Okay, next slide. Why do we not act? Or how are we brainwashed into inaction? My major in college was cognitive psychology. Unbeknownst to me, that was the CIA's brainwashing. That's how you learned how to brainwash people, was through cognitive psychology. I thought I was just learning how people's brains worked. I didn't realize that I was learning how to brainwash people. I had somebody on a Discord chat room say once, you really know how to say things to people to affect them. And I went, and they accused me of learning, what is that? Manipulation? It's a manipulation technique. Neuro-linguistic programming. They accused me of being an expert in neuro-linguistic programming. I said, what is that? And then when they told me, I said, oh, you mean to be a good salesman? Yeah, I've been to lots of sales, learning how to sell, and yes, I do know how to sell.
So do they also accuse you of being really good? Do they also accuse you of being really good at sensitivity training?
Yeah, sometimes I've been accused of a lot of things. Max has a comment up here.
How are we brainwashed into inaction? I call it WMDs, weapons of mass distraction.
Very good. Weapons of mass distraction. Mike Gilbert, did you have a comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Ted?
One of the techniques used by the deep state people is to have all kinds of things going on around us that don't matter. How much energy do people take in professional sports or even college sports? You know, if your kid's in high school,
Will you hold that thought?
Where do you want to hold it?
Hold it right there, because we're coming to that. Okay,
There's more to it than that.
I know, we'll get to you. I want you to talk about it in a minute. Okay. We think we're doomed. It's hopeless. That is a psyop. Do you understand? And do you know how they do it? They tell you, oh, we found out that so-and-so did this. And then time goes by and nothing happens. And then they get you all excited. Oh, we found out this happened. And then nothing happens. And they do that 3 to 5 times. And then when they get you in that cycle of up and down and excited and depressed, then they slip things in that are unconstitutional. And you are so discombobulated and so distressed, you don't even notice what they've done. You think that nothing is ever going to happen because you keep seeing this up and down cycle of nothing happening, so you become hopeless. That is a psyop. Linda? Doge and the Big Beautiful Bill. Good examples, okay? We don't believe it will ever happen. We've been waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen when we become hopeless. It's never, ever going to happen. If you get on X and people will talk about, oh, well, you know, Massey's going to do something about this Epstein list and this is happening, and all these people will get on, it'll never happen. It's completely faithless. Never going to happen. Okay? It will end up crooked, so why try? If we have grand juries, the grand juries are just going to be taken over by the wrong people, and it's all just going to be taken over, and why should we even try? It's never going to work. So they get you jaded, that you don't think it's ever going to work. You think that you're going to be targeted, so you're scared. I don't want to put a target on me. I can come sit down. You don't want to put a target on your back. I know somebody that used to be very politically involved who stepped away and said, if I do that, they're going to come after me. And I said, maybe. But are you going to let that stop you? It stopped them. They won't be involved anymore. Ted.
He's holding it.
You want me to hold it?
I know. We're going to get to you. Don't worry.
As a side note, real quick, the mic for you to speak into then provides more clarity on the video for other people who's watching. So that's why that's important. So just raise your hand, and I'm happy to run it over.
I seem to remember some gentlemen that said they would pledge their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor.
Oh, I wonder who that was. Yeah. So, are we scared of being targeted next? It's not how things are done now. The laws have changed.
I think in addition to getting people...
Hold that closer.
I think in addition to people not acting, they act in ineffective ways.
Correct.
I see that a lot too. So you have all these people who see the problem, they get involved, but it's not like a grand jury. It's more like maybe they'll have a big march or a protest, but it doesn't really...
Doesn't go anywhere. It's the complaining.
It's ineffective.
Yeah, it's complaining on a big scale.
And they get paid to do it.
And they get paid to do it, that's true. So it's not how things are done now. That is probably one of the biggest things that we get from highly educated people, because they say that the Constitution is a living document and things are changing and the old ways don't exist anymore, and we're going to do everything the new way. And so they're pacified and lulled into inactivity. Next. I'm too busy. This isn't a priority. Okay, Ted, your turn. Distracted.
Distracted, okay. In studying Isaiah, one of the critiques he makes from 700 BC about our time is people are doing spectacle things. They're distracted from things that are spectacles.
Okay, next. Okay, keep there.
I'm not through.
I know. I'm telling him to click. Click. Oh, someone else. Okay, do it again. What is that?
That's a spectacle.
Bread and circuses.
Bread and circuses.
So you got the football, and then there's the basketball, and then there's the baseball, and the deep state has been promoting that to distract people from things that are important all the way through society. When we were young, we had to be home to watch Bonanza.
Right.
And
I did too.
And there's a whole bunch of these serial type TV programs that people have to go to, whatever it is.
Okay, let's pass it to Max and see what Max has to say.
I did some research, and I wanted to know how much money is spent on sports each year. And
Billions.
you could buy 75 million families of 4 a year supply of food, which is basically everyone in America, just for the amount of money spent on sports. Then I thought, well, what about entertainment? Movies, concerts, eating out at the restaurants and all that stuff. And you could buy another 75 million families of 4 a year supply on the amount of money spent just on entertainment each year. So that...
It's a huge problem, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we could all be covered.
Yeah. So let's go backwards. Someone else will or can do it. I don't need to do it. Somebody else will do it. We don't feel a sense of responsibility anymore. It's always somebody else. Crystal? So we don't take responsibility for getting things done.
I was talking to one of my boys about voting and this and that, and he says, what difference can I make? I'm just one little voice, and I can't. They've already got it decided. They're going to do what they want to do.
Jaded. It will end up crooked. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Caitlin?
As I look at that list, I think the one about priorities, I'm too busy or not priority, is one I've been guilty of a lot. But I think it stems from the feelings of hopelessness. If you don't think what you're going to do is going to be effective,
Right.
that's when you slip into that. Well, it's just
Yeah,
not a priority 'cause it's not.
Yeah, it's not a priority because you have no hope. And they do this through the media, right? And they do this through bad actors. I am not a fan of Mike Lindell. I bought his pillows, I bought his stuff, I loved him. And then as I studied what he did, I realized he was holding back people from doing what really worked. And he was really acting as an agent, in my opinion. They put people like that into the movement of the conservatives to discourage us. Because how many of us rallied behind Mike Lindell and then were so disappointed when nothing happened with the election fraud? That's the kind of thing that happens over and over. If it wasn't him, it might have been somebody in his organization that guided him or steered him, because he seems to be an upstanding guy. Like I said, I bought his pillows. I did all that. Okay, we need to see results before I'll act. We're lukewarm. I'll do it when I see 5 other people do it, but I'm not going to be the first one to do it. That's too scary. So I'm just going to be lukewarm. Okay, click. So if you don't entertain me enough, I'm going to be bored, and I don't want to be a part of your movement because you're not entertaining me. Victoria?
The one reason that I thought of first was because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do.
You're overwhelmed.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah, overwhelm is a big one. I should have put that one on there. That's a good point, Victoria. Thank you. Okay, how to combat brainwashing. Okay, yay, I actually learned. Know their tactics. when you are aware of what they're doing to you, when you see this up and down cycle in the news, that it's getting you hype and then it's crashing you and getting you hyped and crashing you, that is on purpose. Don't fall for it, because they're trying to get you into an emotional state. Or if they're trying to get you to stop looking over here and they do a false flag over here, or they get something all worked up, don't get all worked up. Don't lose sight of what you want to accomplish over here. Know what their tactics are. Next. Assemble, like what we're doing tonight. One of the biggest tactics of brainwashing is to isolate you. Why do you think COVID was so effective? Because they were isolating everyone. And you didn't have the same kind of social interaction. You get depressed. You don't have a sounding board to bounce things off of as easily. You don't have the energy exchange when you're actually together in a group.
And as I recall, the governor of one of the states took people, citizens that were in restaurants, and put them in ice trucks that are ice trucks.
New York City.
And they died.
Yeah, because without human connection, we die.
Yeah, but in cold, they purposely were killing them so that they...
So we have to assemble. This is really, really important. This is why this Tuesday night program is so important to me, because I know that I can always have a place to come and talk to people of like mind. Know your true power. When you read the Bill of Rights, when you read the Constitution, when you hear that we, the people, have all the political power, and our so-called leaders are really just our servants, we're the masters. When you understand, that's huge, John.
Politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex. Money speaks, and that's where the money comes from. I don't know how to fight that.
Politics is, it's a distraction. I think politics is a big distraction. Again, recognize your brain state. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling discouraged? Are you feeling hopeless? Are you feeling faithless? Okay, recognize what's happening to you. Talk to somebody about it. Reach out. Crystal again.
Well, I pray for the Lord to hedge up the way against these people that have a lot of money and power, like George Soros and others, that have so much wealth that they can control things. And how do we do that?
Read the story of Gideon in the Bible. How many did it take for the Lord to do a big, huge thing?
100.
Didn't take that many, because with the Lord, we can do anything. We're all powerful.
That's why assembling and all that is important
Right.
to gather.
And it's important to read your scriptures and to have a positive mindset, because they're trying to discourage you and keep you down emotionally and physically. Okay, take action guided by the Spirit. If you don't ever do anything about what's going on, if you just are always in the state of complaining, that's going to put you in a bad mind state. What does it say in the scripture, that you want to act and not be acted upon? Mm-hmm. The Lord expects us to act, but we need to act guided by the Spirit, because there is so much out there that is bogus. Okay? Yes.
It's interesting that just today I saw on YouTube President Nelson talking about the way things are today, that so many are in the complaining state, and we need to focus not on what we can't do, but focus on the solution. And so
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Goes along.
That is. So, build on your strengths. Build on what worked in the past. Build on Think about it. Our forefathers went against a king with troops. And these frontiersmen who had little education, but what did they have? They had taverns where they gathered together, they assembled. They had pamphlets that they passed around so that they gained knowledge. And they didn't let their situation overwhelm them. And it wasn't everyone. Do you understand? It was only 3% of the people who made this huge change. We don't have to have everybody. So know what our strengths are, know what worked in the past. So we talked a lot about this last week. We're just going to do a quick review. There's 3 branches of government. The grand juries is not under the auspices of any of those branches. It is a separate organization. And most people don't know that because the statutes have written the grand juries by the people out. They've made it go underneath the auspices of all the judges. But that's not how it's supposed to be. Grand juries are supposed to be separate. This is one of the biggest checks and balances against government. When we see wrongs, we, the people, call a grand jury, we gather the evidence, we indict them, and then we give it to the district attorney or the county attorney.
As long as they're not already paid off.
And if they are paid off, we go after them. So we're not going to, there's somebody that raised their hand. Oh.
I have a friend who, he was on the grand jury. He was a foreman.
The foreman.
Grand jury, and they decided to indict a judge.
Yes.
He went after him. He says, he is by trade, he's an accountant, tax accountant. And he said, that's when I learned about the deep state.
Tax accounting will do that.
He said they came after him, not right away, but like 6 months, 8 months later. IRS sat down in front of him and said they're going to get him.
Right? They use some of their agencies to try to scare you, but it doesn't work if you know your fundamentals and you know the law. John?
What I was gonna say is that
Rob?
Rob, that he was saying that the current form of the grand jury is, I think, grossly ineffective.
True.
The kind of grand jury that you're presenting here is a completely different animal.
Correct.
Than what had worked in the past, so that the people have control other than it being just a rubber stamp or a gold seal of approval by the judicial.
Right. So it's a whole different animal. So the way grand juries are now are not the way that they're supposed to be. Next. Again. So what do we know about grand juries originally? How were they originally set up? Do you remember a little bit from last week? Anybody that was here? Martin?
As I recall, you were talking about how they go back centuries. That was new to me.
That they go back centuries was new to you?
So that was a European practice.
Yes.
Where the people could, if I remember right, go against the king and
Yes.
the leadership of the country.
Yeah, it was for the people. And who called the grand jury together originally? Do you remember?
Sheriff.
The sheriff. The sheriff calls it. Okay, next. So, versus what we're now told about grand juries. So now the judges convene them, or the president says, I want a special grand jury. Some executive, the governor, calls for the grand jury. It always comes from the top down, and it's supposed to come from the bottom up. That's what it was meant for. It is a check and balance against the 3 branches. Okay?
In recent politics,
correct?
They could have morphed into a number of grand juries, but it didn't happen. But there they had citizens talking and organizing and concerned about whatever issue.
Right. So, how do we get people excited enough that they would be willing to come together? Next. So, let's look at the definition of Black's Law, second edition, about what the original grand juries were about. First of all, they're summoned by the sheriff, and anyone could go to the sheriff and ask him to summons a grand jury. Anybody. Then there was 12 to 23 freemen during the criminal court session. So 12 to 23 were called, and there had to be 12 in agreement to indict, or it didn't take place. They would receive complaints and accusations. They could hear the state's evidence and decide if there was enough to proceed, and they could find bills of indictment. Then they were sworn in, and then they received the instructions from the court. That's how it went in the old days. Next.
What kind of instructions are you talking about?
We're going to get to that. So, this is something kind of shocking to me that I learned in my study. Brigham, and I always have wondered, why is our Constitution such a bad one in so many respects? Our original Constitution. It's because Brigham Young hated common law. He hated it. He did everything in his power to not have grand juries, to not have the common law. Do you know why? Common law, one man, one woman, wed. That's it. And he didn't like that. So he went against the common law. Then you have to understand about all of the angst and everything Joseph Smith went through and all the saints. They were going through all of that under common law. And so Brigham Young hated it. And so there's a lot of common law protections that are not in our Constitution because of that. And one of them is that the federal government forced into our Constitution the grand juries, and they forced them through the judges because the people would never call them because Brigham Young told them not to. So that's kind of one of the problems. So as our Utah law stands right now, there's a judicial commission made up of 5 district judges. There's one from District 6, 7, 8, 9. There's one from 1 from 2, like that. So there's 5 district judges. And originally, our Constitution called for 7 grand jurors to be called. We have since amended that to actually something better, more close to the common law. Now they have 9 to 15 that are called for the grand jury. And they're pulled from voter registrations and driver's licenses by either the county clerk or clerk of the court. So that is done on a county basis.
How many of the grand jury does it take to vote positive on yes, do an indictment? If there's 9, does it take 5? Or is it 15?
Yeah, it's 2/3. It's the closest number to 2/3. So if it's a fraction, you go up to the next.
So it's 15, it's 10.
Yeah.
If it's 9, it's 6.
Yep. Next.
Unless it's a capital punishment, then it has to be unanimous.
Unless it's a capital punishment, then it has to be unanimous. Thank you. So you were asking about the instructions by the judge. I think that these instructions are actually good. This was put into our statutory law. It's 7710A-10. So this is what the judge is supposed to say to the grand jury. Its duty is to inquire into offenses against the criminal laws alleged to have been committed within the jurisdiction, within the county. That's the jurisdiction. Its independent right to call and interrogate witnesses. They do not have to limit themselves to what the county attorney is telling them. They can go out and get whatever witnesses they want. Its right to request the production of documents or other evidence including exculpatory evidence. Exculpatory means it's going to get them off. It's telling that they're innocent. Okay? If the county attorney says, I want you, grand jury, to talk about this, and they find some evidence that says this guy is innocent, they can't hide that from the grand jury. It's called exculpatory. Next.
And the right to produce, back to one slide.
Can you go back one, hon?
I just did.
Go. Oh, okay.
Right to request the production of documents. Who does the production of the documents?
Whoever they're asking. So they could ask a witness to produce it. They could ask the prosecuting attorney to produce it. If they decide that there's somebody in some other county that has information they need, they can go to the other county and ask for it. Doesn't matter. They can go after whatever information they want. Okay, next. This is continued. The necessity of finding credible evidence of each material element of any crime charged before returning an indictment. They've got to find real evidence that is pointing to them being guilty. They need to be satisfied that clear and convincing evidence exists that tends to show that a crime was committed by the person or persons accused before returning an indictment. They don't have to have all the information, but there's got to be enough that it would be reasonable to assume that this person might be guilty and that it's worthy of a trial. And it's right to have the prosecutor present it with draft indictments for less serious charges than were originally brought. So if the prosecuting attorney changes his mind, he can take those lesser charges that he's going to do to the grand jury. And the obligation of secrecy. How many times have we heard about grand juries leaking things to the press? Yeah.
And the press getting paid to get it
Yeah.
wrong.
And then other duties and rights as the court finds advisable. This was changed in 1990. I actually think this is pretty good, but what is missing? Again. So in Hale versus Herkel in 1906, this is a Supreme Court case. However restricted the functions of grand juries may be elsewhere, we hold in this state, the state of New York, they have plenary inquisitorial powers, carte blanche. They can look at anything and everything, and may lawfully themselves, and upon their own motion, originate charges against offenders. They don't have to wait for the prosecuting attorney to bring charges. If they are in session and they see a problem, they can decide to investigate it without anybody telling them other than what they know themselves personally. So, and upon their own motion, originate charges against offenders, though no preliminary proceedings have been had before a magistrate, and though neither the court nor the state's attorney has laid the matter before them. Grand juries should have carte blanche to go after whatever. And once they are convened, even though they're convened about one thing, they can look at anything. It doesn't matter. They can look at 10 different things. Next. The other thing that we don't want George to get mad at us. A most important feature, and this is in our statute, but it's not part of the jury instructions, and I think it should be. Any grand jury summoned under this chapter may inquire into and indict for any criminal activity occurring within the state. Doesn't have to be limited to what they were convened for. And I think that should be part of the jury instructions. Will you give that to Caitlin?
Is that limited to, well, can any county, do you have to be in the same county, or can another county see something fishy going on in a neighboring county and then convene a grand jury?
If usually there's something overlapping and you could.
But is it pretty much territorial?
Yeah, it's territorial, it's by county. It is by county. Okay, next. Notices work. Remember, I've had you sign notices in the past, and you've wondered, do they actually work? These pieces of paper that we're sending to people and we're telling them about constitutional law, do they work? Will you click that little arrow? Oh, it's not coming through.
It gets heavy quick. Don't believe me. Listen to this rep who's on the receiving end in Wisconsin.
Okay, this is a representative in Wisconsin.
From your point of view, what does it look like?
Well, there was a lot of them. Per office, I forget the number, but it was hundreds, if not thousands, per office. It was big stacks of notices from many, many different people. And right off the bat, what's this? Why are we getting this? Holy smokes, you know, and then there was a little bit of panic. What does this mean? Are we in trouble? You know, are we doing something wrong? And then they would get people who don't know the law, like ledge counsel. to
Attorneys.
say, that's okay, don't worry about it. No big deal.
So while I appreciate
Okay, we stop that.
how much the lawyers think they know,
Okay, so this representative from Wisconsin was on a Twitter space with us last week, and he told us a lot about what his experience was sitting in the legislature and getting hundreds and thousands of notices about election fraud and different things. And it got so the Speaker of the Senate in Wisconsin, Voss, was trying to hide this because he was getting elected through the crooked elections, right? He didn't want to stop the election fraud. But it got so bad, and Dave Jose went to Wisconsin and confronted him one-on-one and embarrassed him so much in front of the legislature that he finally had to acknowledge that there was election fraud. And it turned around that the Attorney General of the United States had to start talking about it because there was such a stink being made in Wisconsin. So, do notices work? This is just one example. We have many, many other examples. But I wanted you to have hope that they really do work, that we've really gotten changes from the Supreme Court. We've gotten rulings in our favor of the Constitution because of these thousands of notices that we've been sending. Okay?
Susan, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So in your journey, whether you know the answer or not, you presented that there were 5 district judges that were on this panel
Yeah.
to, you know, to convene a grand jury, correct?
Right.
And so question is, because I know this came up before, is there is a rule of thumb to approach somebody with X number of notices, petitions.
So that is
all for the
true.
grand jury.
That is true in Oklahoma. It is not true in Utah. But as we've taught you before, if something is in one constitution, it is available to all of us. So the original Oklahoma Constitution says if you have 100 voting freemen who sign a petition, they have to open a grand jury. Now we have to teach our judges that this is true. And this is why we're starting to do notices to them, because we're trying to teach them. We're not just saying to them, we're going to do this because we have the right. We do have the right. But a lot of people that have tried to do grand juries in the past on their own have gotten thrown in jail because they've been told that they had no legal right to do what they were doing, even though they did have a legal right to do what they were doing. So that's something to keep in mind. How do you, just a minute, how do you get somebody like the 5 district judges to convene a grand jury when there is such an outcry on them, right? When they know they've been backed into a corner with the notices, when they see the handwriting on the wall that if they don't give us a grand jury, we're going to go after them. And they don't want us to go after them. So they start capitulating. And it's from a big public outcry. And the big public outcry starts because they've crossed the line. And we feel like the Epstein issue, they've crossed the line. They are letting rapists of children get away with it. And people are so angry about that, that we feel like that is the thing that's going to pull people together and get them mad enough that they're going to start demanding the grand juries. Like, we demand you do this. If you're not going to take care of it, we're going to start demanding this.
And find out you're a part of it, and then we'll have you do.
That's right. So, next.
Question,
Yes.
where does a normal citizen go to see those 5 judges? And how are
They can't. That's my point. They are keeping us from the grand juries by putting so many layers between us and what the remedy is that we can't even get remedy. So that's why we have to get enough people calling them on it.
Where's it listed who those 5 judges are?
It changes from year to year, and I couldn't even find who was on it. But it's usually one from each of the big districts, and then they group a whole bunch of the southern districts together, and they choose one from that. So what is there, 9 districts in Utah and 5 judges? So
it's a shuffle to keep you from knowing it.
absolutely. They're doing everything in their power to keep us from finding out how to do grand juries. Now, the other day, I went to a meeting with a man named Jaron Jackson, who is a student, when I tell you, please press play, who is a student of Dave Jose. Jaron Jackson is in Oklahoma. He is a pattern recognition specialist. He can see patterns in the law like none other. He is fabulous.
Here's an example.
Pardon?
An example?
I'm going to. So I want you to listen for about 4 minutes to Jaron. He's talking to a woman who got a traffic citation, but he's trying to get her to think about what is the fundamental law that she needs to write a notice about. Because if you just go, that's my rights, you're going against my constitutional rights, they just call you crazy. Right? You have to go after the fundamental issue, and that's what Jaron is teaching here. Okay?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to take you to what the law is.
Okay.
By your own words, you said they sent it, the citation, to your husband because they did not know who the driver was.
It was a camera.
Okay, whoa. You say exactly, but like,
That's what happened.
Say again?
I'm just saying that's what happened.
Right. My point is that has a controversy in the fundamental law in it that you're not catching. You're missing.
Fundamental law says I have right to due process, and there's none of that in
Right,
there.
and this, okay, so I'm gonna be direct, and then that way you can like watch the recording and think on it, because you're missing it. The common law, the maxims say a witness is one who is present to observe a transaction. If people are trying to take your property based on a picture, there is no witness to what happened, which is why they're sending it to the registered address.
Right.
So you have already said in your own words that this is a program where they are making money. You just said that you have the right to due process. If they have a program and you have due process, do those things contrast with each other?
Do they what with each other?
Do they fight?
Yes.
Is there a controversy?
Yes.
The
yes.
city's saying you owe them money. The city's saying whoever's registered the car owes them money. And you are right to due process of law. Do those things fight each other?
Yes.
How?
Because there was no witness.
Okay.
There was no.
That's one way. What's another way?
Process.
Your money is your money, yeah? Your property?
It's my property, it's my right to travel freely.
Well, hold on, see, this is, the problem is, people are coming after you. And your response is not to look at the authority that is coming to you. Your response is to say, I got the right to travel, I got the right to due process, I got the thing. That's making you sound like, you can't tell me anything.
Okay, gotcha.
Instead, let me put it this way. Mary Jo Foster, send me your address, because I'm going to send you a piece of paper in the mail demanding that you pay me $1,000. Are you going to pay it?
No, I'm gonna tell you to go take a hike,
Okay, why?
because you don't have that right.
No, that's not. All right, so government cannot deprive people of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. You have a municipal corporation sending you a citation without a witness to fine you without a trial by jury in a court of record. So instead of using a judicial process, due process of law, a corporate entity is using an administrative process to deprive you of property. Does this make sense?
Yes.
So when you say, hey, I got a PMA, most of them have no idea what that means.
I know.
When Dave is pointing you, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not asking to know what it is, when he's pointing you to the video to watch, he's trying to get you to go to what the fundamental is. And I just explained what the fundamental was.
Okay, you stop it.
Right.
People are trying to take from you using a process that you are guaranteed.
So you're guaranteed due process of law if they take your life, your liberty, or your property. And due process is a trial by jury of your peers in a court of record with a real judge. Okay? So I'm just going to leave it at that. There's a lot in there that's packed in there. So he was just trying to get her to think about what is the fundamental law. And that is what we are doing with these notices that we started signing last week. We are sending them to all the judges in Utah, including the Supreme Court and Sanpete County. And we're saying, tell us, do you agree that people have all political power? And we're quoting the Utah Constitution. That's all we're asking them to attest to. Now, the second one that we're going to be sending them is equally as simple. It says, okay, that's the first one. This is a notice and demand for point of clarity regarding political power. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. I, Susan Manning, one of the people, as seen in Utah Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Republican in form sui juris, do serve you, judges of Sanpete County and the Utah Supreme Court, and other trustees like Governor Cox and County Attorney Kevin Daniels, this notice by necessity in this court of record. This piece of paper is a court of record. And we could go into a class about why it is, but it is. To demand a point of clarity in preparation to convene a grand jury to investigate maladministration and government bad doing, including the taking of children without constitutional authority. Please take notice that I serve this by right and not as any case. Please take notice that political power is for making laws and penalties, the force necessary to its execution for defense of people, the regulation and preservation of property, and the public good. See evidence below. We're going to give them a quote from John Locke, 2 Treatises of Government. And he talks about that. Please take final notice that it is my wish and demand that you give clarity. Do you agree? Is John Locke, a forefather and settled authority in law, right or wrong when he defined political power? If you do not answer after 10 days, it shall stand that you agree with all statements. The first one is, do you agree that the people have all political power? The second one is, what is political power? So, next. Oh, go back to the slideshow, I'm sorry. So it's where it says states, grand jury. It's about the fourth one over. Right there. Okay, now go to present at the top. Over what? Yeah, present. Then go down to present. Okay, now click it to the next one. Okay, I would like you to get out your phones, if you wouldn't mind. This is a 5-question questionnaire. And I would like you to do it now. And I would like you to, please. Michael says I have this authoritative tone to my voice sometimes. I apologize. So if you need to come up closer to get that to pull up, I would really appreciate you to do that. And when you are done, if you feel moved to do so, I would like you to sign 3 notices. If you signed the one last week, you only need to sign 2. I really, really appreciate your guys' attention and doing this for me. It really helps me to know where you're at and what we can do to bring information to you that you're actually interested in, that we're not trying to cram things down your throat that you don't care about. So that's why the survey. So does anybody have any questions, any comments? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it.